The female Andrew Tate, Pearl Davis, on why she thinks women shouldn't vote. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Welcome back to Piers.
You know, by the way, I think that if you went around and you had a clipboard and you say, do you want to end women's suffrage? I bet most people would sign it because they wouldn't want to see women suffer. I really think that. 100%.
So Pearl Davis has racked up a legion of online followers and plenty of breathless newspaper coverage by sharing her incendiary views on modern feminism. The New York Post called her the female Andrew Tate. So she tapped into genuine female pushback to the excesses of wokery, or is she just an attention seeker? We'll find out in a moment. But first, let's take a look at the clip that sent her viral.
A lot of people think I'm insane because I don't think women should vote. Everybody thinks I'm crazy for this opinion. If anything, this is probably my most extreme opinion. 90% of women have been on birth control. 1 out of 3 women has had an abortion. 1 out of 3 women has an STD. Average body count is over 5, so that your average wife has slept with over 5 people. 95% of women are not virgins on their wedding days. So I understand the complaint.
Okay.
Okay.
Pearl joins me now alongside political journalist Ava Santini, who was nodding furiously along there to everything she heard. Right, Pearl, you've been called the female Andrew Tate. How do you plead?
Well, I take it as a compliment. You know, I'm a fan of Andrew Tate.
Of everything he says?
It depends what we're talking about. But
I don't think anybody's a fan of everything any one person says. That's kind of unfair.
I think he's got a good message. I think he's good for young men.
Okay, look, you're talking about women predominantly, which is why you've got this big following. And your view is that modern feminism is deeply flawed. I would argue a lot of your proposals, like taking the vote away from women, are deeply regressive. Why would you want to remove, just from yourself, the right to vote?
Well, what happened was I had the same view, right? Back when I started, I was like, why? I found out that only 5% of women wanted the right to vote. And I couldn't figure out, like, why would women not? No, it's true. It's true. You look it up.
At the time?
At the time.
Because they've been conditioned by men to think that they shouldn't have a vote.
I mean, that's what they say. But, you know, I started reading their writings, right? And what I found out was that the reason a lot of women advocated for it was because they believed it was the beginning of the breakdown of the family. You know, before you became one in marriage, 85% of people were married. And, you know, I hate to say it, but they were right. What has happened 100 years later?
But what's that got to do with them having the vote?
Well, it also goes back to responsibility.
So, okay. Okay. So, because of the right... Okay, all right. Wait, hold up. So, because they had the right to vote, it destroyed the family. Let her cook? All right.
Again, men are 80 to 90% of the military. They run all of the infrastructures that make society
Surprised
run.
not more.
So I just think if we want an equal say in society, then be equal. Do 50% of the hard jobs. Be 50% of the military. In the U.S., they're fined $250,000 if they don't join selective service, which is essentially the draft.
Okay, but specifically on the vote, what would having the right to vote have to do with family cohesion, for example?
Well, because...
Yeah, I think you can obviously make an argument that everybody should have to sign up for selective service, sure. But, like, yeah, that doesn't really have... Like, if everybody was signed up for selective service, like, I think that her argument for why women can't vote or shouldn't vote doesn't really have to do with that.
Because, again, before you weren't trying to divide a family. It was one family unit. You had one vote for the family. I mean, I don't think it's good for a family to have 2 votes.
Ava, your mouth seems...
What if they have, like, a kid that's, like, 18 and he can vote, too? And wouldn't that be bad for, like, Mormons? Because they have, like, 10 kids? Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that's kind of unfair. So and wouldn't that be bad for families in general? Because wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't single people get, like, more represented? If it was one family, one vote? I'm Mormon. I have 1 kid. Well, everything I've learned was a lie.
To have dropped about...
I'm not working hard enough.
I know.
It's just sort of a bit galaxy brain. I feel like, you know, the stats that you're putting down are perhaps correct in some universe.
Which stats?
They just kind of don't really add up. I mean, just to take you back to the women's writings that you've allegedly read. I mean,
allegedly? What do you mean allegedly?
At the time that you're talking about, you know, women weren't really allowed to write. They weren't allowed to go to school.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. That's incorrect. The first female property. The first female property owner was in the 1600s. The idea that women couldn't work.
What does that have to do with writing?
I'm so sorry, but that would be inherited property.
The first female millionaire was in the late 1800s.
And was that inherited?
No, it wasn't. It was self-made. Yes, it was.
Self-made.
Yes, it was.
She never inherited land.
Yes, she did not inherit it.
What law permitted that? What law permitted that?
Well,
let's look it up. We're gonna see right now. Madam C.J. Walker, who first started selling a hair grower at the turn of the 20th century, that's the 1900, was the first American woman to become a self-made millionaire. Well, she said it's the first millionaire, and it's like, was this person inherited? So she really means the first self-made millionaire. It doesn't really matter, but I think this is, okay, this is relatively correct. She said late 1800? At the turn of the 19th century. That's pretty close. Like, I would say that she's pretty close. She said 1600s? Wait, did she? She said 1600 for homeowner. Yeah, she said 1600 for property owner. Yeah, no, this is technically correct.
There was no law. I mean, there's always been women that were influential in history.
Let's get on to the vote. So what I don't understand
so
is,
then why not let them
part
vote?
of your message, I've researched you today, and hang on a minute.
Okay.
You know, your big push is that you care about men, and you don't think that men are getting enough of a say. But
well, I care about
hang
women
on,
too.
I haven't made the point yet, because of feminism, okay?
She's so happy she's here.
Is when you start making calls out like repeal the 19th, women shouldn't be allowed to vote. How is that helping young men? Because these young men have women in their lives, they have mothers, they have sisters, they have teachers, and they turn around, they don't know how to act around women because you're giving them license to be misogynistic.
I wouldn't call it misogynistic. I say be equal. So again, men do all of that.
That's a good point. Yeah, it is. That makes sense because you want to be equal by taking away the rights of one group of people. Because it's simple, right? Because if men can vote and women can't vote, then they're equal. Okay, yep, got it. Understood. Makes sense. Checks out.
Well, then, okay, I'd love for the feminists, please apply for the oil rigs. Please go do the hard jobs in society. They're open, they're hiring, because I don't equate.
Women aren't as strong and big as men. That's why they don't work at an oil rig. Holy fuck, what are we talking about? I don't know why everybody has such a hard time understanding this reality. Is that men are just bigger and stronger than women on average. Like the probability of like a woman that can do that level of physical labor is just so like minuscule that obviously it's not going to happen. It doesn't mean that women can't do other stuff too. It doesn't mean we need people at an oil rig, right? It doesn't mean that like women need to work in an oil rig, and if they're not working there, then it doesn't matter what they're doing. A woman can be a doctor. I think that's more important. I thought women can do what men can do. For the most part, that's true. There are some jobs that are way easier for men, though, because men are bigger and stronger. This is biology. Don't get mad at me. That's God's fault. I didn't do this. That's just how it is. I do think that the problem is that, by the way, like treating people based off of genetic dispositions and genetic advantages or like lack of advantages. I find that, and to have that codified into the law, I find to be very dangerous. Because I think there's also a lot of other very big differences between men and women. Like, for example, like men are way more likely to kill somebody than a woman is. So, like, do we want to write this into the law that, like, men should be treated differently in this circumstance? Well, I don't think so. I don't think that's a good thing. And I think often in times there are cases where men or women do bad stuff like that, and they do get they do get lighter sentences. And I think that's fair. That's not fair either. Yeah, it's crazy. What do you think about someone asking for more than they can contribute? There's no gotcha here. Someone asking for more than they contribute. So you're saying like women don't contribute as much because they're not doing hard physical labor jobs? Yeah, I don't really think so. I think since they have kids, they usually raise kids. I feel like it averages out. Yeah, that's what I think. They contribute in other ways. Yeah, and that's what she's saying. Well, what I'm saying is that, in general, like, I don't like that dumb people can vote, but I don't really think that there's a simple solution to stop that from happening that doesn't just, like, fuck over, like, another group of people. That's why we have pretty much a rule where everybody can vote. In a perfect world, you know, only people that were smart and educated in a topic would vote on it. An IQ test doesn't work because people can be educated, or they can be smart, but they can just not know shit about something. Right? Like you saw that with, for example, Ben Carson. Ben Carson, you know, brilliant neurosurgeon, not necessarily the best president, potentially. So, of course, I don't think IQ test necessarily works. That's an example of it. Just overall, I find this to be very weird. Do the rich, poor, Nepo babies not be allowed to vote because they don't contribute? Yeah, exactly. That's what the issue is.
Women are equal until we do the equal work. So no, listen. Go apply to be on the oil rigs. Go be a plumber. Go be an electrician. Go be on the front lines of the military. And then we should have equal rights. But until feminists are willing to do that, I don't believe we should have the freedom without the responsibility.
Okay, but I don't think that I'm physically built for that. You might be, but I'm absolutely not.
That was fucking nasty. Bro, oh, oh, wow.
But you said you were
a
you said you were a volleyball player, and so you've got more strength than I do. I don't think
but
that
I don't have more strength. I don't have more strength than the average man. I'm not going to take your right away. I don't have more strength than the average man. But again, it goes back to go be a plumber. You want to be equal, go be equal.
I feel like there's a lot of people that can't, like a lot of guys that can't really work on oil rigs or anything like that too. Like, you know, if you're disabled, obviously that's a thing. And really, I mean, I think like most guys that work in oil rigs are like lower 20s, right? I'm pretty sure like if you're my age, like you're already pretty much too old to work in an oil rig. Like that's my understanding. Mostly, yeah, it's mainly a lot of younger guys.
But you want divorce to be made illegal.
Yes.
Why?
Yes, because I don't think what we have today is
destroys
really
your body?
marriage.
Yeah, I bet.
What is marriage? It's for better or for worse, for richer or for poor, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. That's what marriage is supposed to be. But feminists have ruined marriage for the people that actually believe in marriage.
How?
When there's a 50% divorce rate, and the average marriage
Why is that all down to the women, though?
I didn't say that it was all down to the women.
So why feminists
you asked why I want divorce to be banned.
Yeah.
Can I finish that first?
Oh, so that was... Oh, she kind of snuck that one. So divorce should be banned. Okay. All right.
I'm saying, you know, the people that believe in divorce, go be in long-term relationships. Leave marriage for the people that actually believe in for better or for worse, for richer or for poor, in sickness and in health, till death do us part.
But doesn't the sanctity of marriage also rely on the woman being a virgin, so you wouldn't be able to get married?
Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. So... Oh, man. Wow. So I feel like there's like two different kinds of marriage. There's like marriage as a religious sacrament and marriage as like the joining of assets and like two individuals in the eyes of the state, right? There's the economic and state marriage versus the religious one. And if she wants to change the religious one, that's up to her. Who gives a fuck? But, like, this state one, I mean, you obviously... Like, you can't just have two people stuck together forever. Imagine how many problems that's going to create. That's insane. Christianity only allows marriage if infidelity happens. I'm assuming you mean, like, divorce. Well, that's fine. But I just think there's a big difference between, like, the government acknowledging a marriage and the church acknowledging a marriage. These are two completely different things. So, like, if she has this problem with marriage, she needs to talk to the fucking priests.
What do you mean?
Well, you've spoken quite openly about how you're not a virgin, and so if you want to preserve that sanctity of marriage, then I just think that you're upholding standards that you don't actually live by.
And that's a fair.
I just think that you're upholding standards that you don't actually live by.
That's a fair complaint. I wish I was. But,
he's loving this, by the way.
Yeah, but I just don't think it's fair.
Yeah, he's so happy right now.
You get to be paid for your views, and you're telling other women that they shouldn't be allowed to.
I think.
Hang on. Okay, if I may, at some stage jump in. Isn't the whole point of being a feminist, though, that women are entitled to have their own views?
Absolutely. And
so she's perfectly entitled to her views.
Yeah, but you can't.
You might not like them.
Oh, bro, he's trying to wind her up. That's good. I like that. Yeah. See, she didn't like that at all. Ooh, she did not like it. Ooh. Such a professional, yeah.
Isn't she exercising her rights as are you a feminist?
No, I am not.
Really?
No, I wouldn't. Don't go that far.
You don't want to be a feminist?
No, because I think if feminists really believed in equality, but you guys don't, I would love for you. There is an oil rig hiring. There is an engineering
I would actually love to see Ava Satin on an oil rig.
Seriously. There is a building being built next to my building.
I think you can make an argument that, like, if women want equality, they should have to register for the draft. Sure. But I don't think women need equality in every single job. Like, this is crazy. It doesn't even have to do with it. Like, I don't even get the logic in this. She works at an oil rig HR? Yeah, apparently.
Then go do it, feminists. Go do it. And me, I'm doing the same job that I'm doing right now.
When you find the man you want to get married to, are you saying you will be with that man whatever happens the rest of your life?
Yes, for the vows that we're supposed to live by.
How do you know you can keep them?
I mean, I think it's a choice. And that's the thing, like, women are so willing to leave marriages because they're not happy. This is not about happiness. The most important thing.
I think some of the language here I don't really like a lot, because there's a lot of guys that leave marriages because they're not happy either. I don't really see the point that, like, why this is being shown as, oh, women are this terrible thing and it's women that are doing this. Get the fuck out of here. This is so weird. Like, men do the same shit.
Is the children. And the problem is we have a modern society where it's me, my feelings, leave when I feel.
Women initiate 80% of divorces. And does that mean that 20%, you think 20%? That's a huge percentage. That's fucking massive. And I'll even agree with you. That's huge. 20%? What do you mean? 80 versus 20. Yes, 20 is massive. 80% is huge. Yes, it is. I'm fully willing to accept men cheat and make the women file for divorce. Oh, I don't know. What she's saying is women only protest to get 50% quota in high and easy paying jobs, but not the hard manual wage jobs. At least that's what I think. Then say that and don't talk about voting. Then talk about the actual issue and don't fucking turn it into something that it's not. Yeah, she clearly just winged it. Yeah, clearly. And the point is that she's sued, but she's grifted far right people and actually believing her. She's laughing all the way to the bank while her followers seethe. I think it should be 50-50, can be disputed in court for fixed percent. All I'm saying is, so if 80% of divorces are initiated by women, that means 20% of them are initiated by men. That is a massive amount. I'm just saying that, like, in any other circumstance, if you had a paycheck and they took away 20% of your fucking paycheck, that would be huge. You would be fucking furious. 20% is a huge number. They do? Well, they do it again. That's what I mean. I think her point was because women avoid physically hard jobs, they're not adequate to vote on subjects that affect people who do work in those fields. Like how if a doctor were to decide on laws for a car mechanic. But that's what we have for everything. We have that for literally everything. So only the people that are like perfectly qualified to know this topic are able to vote. How do you determine that? That would be impossible to do. How would anybody? So think about it, right? So for the military. So you're saying that only the military should vote on things for the military? Well, I guess what's going to happen to the military? It's going to get bigger. Just think about it.
Like it instead of doing what's best for the kids.
Ava, I've got to say, it's a little bit listening to Andrew Tate where some of it I really don't agree with. I don't agree with the vote stuff. When I hear things like that, I think there'll be a lot of people, especially older generation women perhaps, who think, you know what, she's got a point.
Well, I mean, I believe in agency, so I think that if a woman is going to look after her children in divorce, that's absolutely fine. I also believe in your right to speak your mind about it. What I don't understand...
I'd like to say, even before the 1920s,
you know what I mean?
Women could speak openly. This idea that, like, women couldn't talk the last 500 years, there have been women throughout history...
The American state education system has failed before, and it's failing now.
There have been...
Who gives a fuck about what culture was 100 years ago? Why are people so fucking hung up on what happened 100 years ago? 200 years ago? Everybody then is dead. Why are we still talking about it? It's crazy.
Women throughout history that have read, written, and been very influential in society.
Okay.
So this idea like women could never do it.
Do you know what I don't understand though is when it gets spiteful, okay? Because you put down a few arguments that I think are perfectly, like, you know, they're kind of evangelical and they're Christian, but those are your right to say it. What I don't understand is when it kind of seeps into this sort of, you call women fat, you say that they shouldn't have abortions, you say that they have STDs. You know,
I mean, the question is, are they fat? Yes or no? The average American woman is 170 pounds. That's objectively overweight.
I mean, let's be honest. We now celebrate.
What's the average man? Yeah, what is the average man? No, let me see. I want to see that. Average man weight USA. Almost 200 fucking pounds? Holy shit! Are you kidding me? Okay, average healthy man weight. So what's the average height? About 5'9". So, well, guys are fat too then. Well, shit. If you use that logic, maybe everybody here is fucking fat.
Morbid obesity as some kind of body positive thing, and it is complete nonsense. So, actually, on that point again, there's a bit of truth in that.
And this is the problem. This is the problem.
How have we come to celebrate morbid obesity as body positive?
Well,
it's nonsense.
We're not talking about morbid obesity. I was actually watching your podcast earlier, and you spoke to someone who was, I would say, probably a size 12, and you called her fat, a beast, and a divorcee.
She was fat.
Is size 12 fat? That's fat? Well, I mean, if she's fat, then she's fat. I mean, there it is. I mean, it's not really a lot to say. I mean, it's not like it's a secret. Everybody can see it.
Beast and a divorcee. I mean, like, I don't know what to say. This is the thing, women, we don't want to live in reality. We don't want to say things that are true. Was she fat? Yes. Was she a divorcee? Yes.
Okay.
These things are just objective facts.
Okay. I'm going to have to objectively...
And she insulted me first. They always do.
I'm going to have to objectively end the debate, but it was an interesting conversation. I think we should get you two back together.
I bet he will do that.
It's a matter of urgency.
I bet he will do that.
Thank you, Ava.
Man, that was the easiest content of his life. I really kind of don't like the idea that people should be like treated differently by the government based off of like what some sort of contribution is. Like, especially in terms of, like, their rights. It's like, well, you don't have these rights because you don't contribute this type of thing. I feel like that line of thinking is, like, it's very dangerous because you can apply that line of thinking to younger people. You can apply it to older people. You can apply it to a lot of disabled people, for example, women, for different people for different reasons. And so, yeah, I really don't like that. And I feel like there are some cases where it makes sense, sure. But I think in the majority of cases, it doesn't. Check out the average weight globally. Well, I'm sure that Americans are fatter than, like, I guaranteed we are fatter than average. Absolutely. We don't let people with Down syndrome vote? Yeah, well, we don't let 5-year-olds vote either. I mean, like, obviously you draw the line somewhere, but just because you draw the line somewhere doesn't mean that it's a good idea to keep drawing more lines. Europe's actually fatter than the USA now? Oh my God. They did a study where they compared food consumption now versus years ago, and it's the exact same. It's just all the bad shit that they put in it recently. I don't know. Like, I remember I was talking to my dad about this, and like he was talking about how like there weren't a lot of fat people whenever he was young. And he said one of the reasons for it is because a lot of guys, like, guys didn't go out and like exercise and jog around and like get physical activity outside of like work because their job was physical. Like, you know, this is in like the 50s or like the early 60s and stuff like that. So people had like a lot more physical based jobs. And if you're working a more physically based job, I think it would make more sense that you're probably not exercising and doing that kind of stuff either, because you're already doing that. I believe what changed is what oil they used. Well, I think it's a lot of things. Like, I'm not saying that's the only reason, but I'm pretty sure it probably is like just the fact that there probably aren't as many physically based jobs as there used to be. And that number seems to be going down. And also it's probably because of the type of food that people eat. Yeah. You could argue weight is a terrible way to determine fatness. Canute weighs 250 pounds with no fat. Yeah, but like whenever you're talking about an average population and you're using a professional bodybuilder as an example of an outlier, like I don't know why people like try to find like these crazy outliers. Like, most people aren't professional bodybuilders. Most people aren't 7 feet tall. So whenever you're looking at averages, well, you're looking at an average. Obviously, it might not work in every single circumstance with a 1-to-1. It's kind of like how people, like families, usually have 2.3 kids. Well, they don't really have 0.3 kids, right? It's a statistical approximation. Let's look at photos of people from 1970s or earlier before sugar. Did they not have sugar back then? I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure they had sugar back then. Yeah, I really, like, I don't know. It was not processed. I have no idea. That could be it. I'm not sure. Why is your chat so stupid? The reason why, like, I'm surprised that there's a lot of guys in my my community, and this is just like a thing that I think, because like I don't really ban people for like wrong opinion, and because of that, obviously a lot of people feel like they can go and be in my stream and talk about this stuff. And I think it's not really a big deal, right? Because these people exist, and that's, you know, it's fine, it's whatever. And it's better to address what people say rather than just ban all of them, at least. Overall, you know, I try to see both sides of issues. And whenever I do that, anytime, like, you have to understand that in a lot of media, somebody like Pearl is just the bad guy. And I think that she's an idiot. I think that she's a complete fucking moron. I don't think that she has any good points with this at all. There's no logic to it in any way. If being able to work in an oil rig means that you can vote, like, how is this, like, what does this make any sense? What about old people, right? What about other stuff? Like, it is, and the way that people like this are able to, like, kind of communicate their ideas is through, as soon as somebody challenges them on their idea, you saw this happen, well, now they're moving over to, oh, well, now divorce should be illegal. So they're already talking about something that's even more scandalous or even more controversial. So you never actually drill down at the point of what they're getting at. Because if you get down to, like, the very core of what an argument like this would be, it immediately falls apart if you apply it to any other circumstance. Why are you critically accurate most of the time? Well, because I don't care. So that's the reason why I'm accurate, is because I don't really care about this. And if you don't care about something, you're going to be more likely to be accurate because you don't care. And you can look at it objectively. Piers brought up her divorce statements first. Oh, is that true? I didn't notice that. Okay, well, either way, I do think that, you know, the voting things, how women can't vote, I feel like, you know, I obviously you should, like, being equal, I think is very different than being equal in the eyes of the state. So, like, I think the state should treat people the same, even though people aren't the same. The state should treat people according to their needs. But who determines what those needs are? And I think that, yeah, in general, that's true. But I do think that, like how many people really, and this is an interesting question, how many people really, like, need to vote? Like, if I were to look at the percentage of the population that I would trust to make an accurate and informed decision on the vote of, like, who should be president or whatever, I think probably like 5 or 10% of people. I bet like 90% of people vote for stupid fucking reasons. Absolutely dumb fucking reasons. Stuff that doesn't make sense. Fake news. They're voting based off of a religion. They're voting based off of something that they saw on Facebook that was AI. Like, it's just absolute bullshit. So the truth is that most people probably don't need to vote. But the problem is figuring out how to get to that 10% without just, you know, inadvertently disenfranchising massive groups of people, which people haven't been able to figure out yet. I mean, they've tried it before, but, like, then, you know, that had problems too. To me, this girl is extra annoying because her mannerisms imply to me that she's being a contrarian on purpose. Yeah, I agree with that. Would you put yourself in the 10%? For this election? No, I wouldn't. I haven't really informed myself that much on voting and what the issues are. No, I don't think so. The last time I think that we had the Senate race here, I didn't vote in that either. Because I wasn't informed enough about the topic, and so I didn't vote. I'm pretty sure Pearl got a lot of these talking points from Zerka, by the way. They did content together not long ago. Well, I don't know. I don't know about that or not. I have no idea. But, like, all I'm saying is that I'm not really a fan of treating people differently by the government. I think taking away women's right to vote is silly. And, like, basing women's value in society off of how many of them work in an oil rig is ridiculous. It's just stupid. It's reductive. I don't know why anybody would do that. Part of me is the issue is people being unstable, unable to talk things out and come to an agreement. That's always what happens. We'll look at a couple more, and then we're going to move on. I don't vote because it's funny to watch people lose their minds on who to vote for and who not to vote for. Well, I think that you should vote if you are informed, and you shouldn't vote if you're not informed. It's that simple. Let's see. Women are illogical, go off feelings. Why should they vote for serious topics? Please explain. Well, okay, so here's an example, right? And this is kind of like, this is my point, is that if I read your logs, this is a lot of messages. And I bet that you are more emotional about this than either one of them on this panel. Now, maybe you could be a woman, and so it's like, well, yeah, that's my point exactly. But the truth is that I think that there are a lot of guys that get emotional about stuff. Now, guys express it differently because of culture, but guys get emotional about stuff constantly. Now, I think it's bad whether it's a woman getting emotional over it or a guy. I don't think women have a monopoly over getting emotional and making bad decisions. I think, obviously, society is probably a little bit more accepting of it, which could be a bad thing. But the idea that women categorically do this, I think, is kind of unfair. Like, that's like saying that men are violent because a lot of violent criminals are men. Like, would that be fair to say that? I don't think so. Lower rig argument is dumb. There are important jobs where women outnumber men, like teachers. Yeah, but I mean, like, if she said that, she would probably say that our education system is bad and that we have bad public schools, and so it's because of women. Like, that's probably what I think that she would say if you brought that up. The reason in the past women have made less than men is because of birth and them being a wild card at any time. Well, I mean, it's very complicated, right? I don't want to get into, like, all that stuff or whatever. I'll link you guys the video. But, yeah, I mean, I wish people would be more honest about, like, the obvious differences between men and women without treating it like it's some sort of, like, taboo subject that you can't even talk about or it's, like, really bad. Because I think that there are obvious differences between men and women, and that doesn't mean that one is, like, more superior or inferior than the other or anything like that. But there are big differences, and they should be respected and acknowledged. Because you shouldn't, like, anything else, you're living in a fantasy world. Teacher statistics consistent among most of the countries. Finland has the most successful school system in the world, okay? Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I never thought of that. Do you know what adrenochrome is? Yeah, of course. Hillary Clinton uses it to stay young. So unmarried, former athlete, not a virgin, professional YouTuber woman is telling other women to sit home and raise kids while bowing down to their men. I think that there is too much conversation nowadays about what other people should do. It is exhausting. It is so fucking tiresome to hear every day, all day, some fucking person that has an opinion on what somebody else should do. Drives me crazy. Tactone get emotional. Yeah, we get Tactone. Yeah, we just saw that.
Shut the fuck up. Like, you know shit, bro. Just because you type a lot don't mean that it's fucking accurate, you dumb shit.